When we look at most of the ancient yogic scriptures, the fundamental problem, you could say, we have as a humanity is called avidya. It means not having wisdom. It means actually not to see. And what we are not seeing is our divinity, and also is the perfection of the self at work. And this is our continuous struggle. If you think about it, what is our continuous struggle? No matter who we are actually. It is always that sense that something is inherently wrong about what is. That something should be different. That we need to change ourselves. That our life needs to change. That everything is not really good as it is, that other people are not really perfect as they are, and that our life is never really perfect. And out of this comes this sense of continuous lack and continuous striving. On the present moment, what is happening at this moment actually gets totally lost. It's out of the focus, because there's always actually the focus on becoming. I'm always becoming something. And it isn't that this becoming as such is negative, that you want to strive, that you love to develop, or that you love to change. It is more the continuous suffering that's connected to it. So the problem isn't that you are wanting to become, or that you're actually enjoying the kind of journey. The problem is that no one is actually enjoying their journeys. Everyone is continuously unhappy. It is always that people are unsatisfied with what they are currently having, and that is true for money, that is true for housing, that is true for their partners, that is true for friends, that is true with circumstances. There is very rarely someone that is actually satisfied with what is. And this continuous dissatisfaction comes out of not knowing what we fundamentally are, not knowing the self as it truly is. Because if you could see from the eyes of the self the world and your reality, you would become aware that every little detail in it, every circumstantial detail in it is actually perfect, not just for yourself and your own development and your own inner changes and your own awareness and your own journey, but also for everyone else in it. And it is this revelation actually of who we are as the self, is this great orchestra and this conglomerate of awareness and this conglomerate of people. It is truly the unified essence of who you are. And this unified essence of who we are, namely that is the divine or the universe or the absolute or however you want to call it, orchestrating reality not just for your focal point, but for this totality of space in a complete perfection. This idea is lost. And because we are not perceiving from that angle that can actually go into this vastness and see how everything is continuously shaped for everyone involved in it, and what that actually means on a more relative level for your life, is that every detail of your life, imagine this, every little detail of your life also the challenges or your negative thoughts or whatever is actually helpful for the whole space. This can only be understood once you have realized the self and once this vaster space has opened up to you and you can actually see more from this meta perspective. You could say from the meta perspective of the higher self, but actually from the meta perspective of the self. And you can start to actually consciously become aware, wow, because of this is happening for another person, or this is happening for the neighborhood, or this is happening for this wider space. And we are often continuously, scrutinizing or judging or what the present moment actually reveals, what the present moment even in our minds reveal. Like, we shouldn't be thinking this, we shouldn't be doing this, we shouldn't be this or that, whatever it is for you. You know these kind of situations. If you knew the great perfection at work, if you actually could see and more consciously become aware of the larger entity of who you are. The problem is also that so many people outsource divinity, like so many religions outsource divinity, and it is never, if you look at who talked about religion, like the founding people of religion, they were never actually talking about that the divinity isn't within you, that this kingdom of heaven isn't within you, that you are somehow separate from it. But what it means is to literally see the perfection of the present moment. And if you imagine you could see more of this perfection at work, because what then happens for you is that you are actually really accepting of the present moment. You are actually really accepting of whatever is arising. And you can consciously come back to this remembrance and to this notion of yourself that whatever is happening for you for some reason or other is somehow orchestrating or beneficial for the whole space, is somehow not separate. This avidya, what the ancient yogis were talking about, this sense of separation, this is the focal reason why we're never satisfied, why nobody ever actually can be present, why it's always about the next day or the next paycheck or the next job or the next partner or anything that is actually projected into the future. And why the present moment is actually never fully enjoyed, and whatever you're doing can actually never be fully enjoyed, because you're not knowing who you are. You're not realizing who you are. So there is a theoretical knowing of a lot of people what they are in truth, consciousness, awareness, the divine. But there isn't a realization. They don't get the realization. They don't come to the space of realization, of realizing this is, I am the self. I am the self operating at every moment of my life. And can you remember this? There is the self operating through you. You are the divine in form. So every little fragment of it is somehow relevant for this space, for the perfection of the divine orchestrating everything for everyone. And this is also the most unselfish you can actually ever become, because you're starting to realize from your own experience that whatever is occurring to you isn't just occurring to you, but is shared in this space of awareness with a lot of other people, knowingly or unknowingly. There isn't a separation. So your journey becomes relevant also for the whole space, but also you can just rest in the moment, rest more in the moment, rest more in the moment. knowing that it is somehow perfect if stuff is not working out for you. Yeah, if whatever isn't working out for you, what relief would it be if you really would know it is still for your better? It is still the best thing for you that it's not working out. How much actually stress would come off your shoulders if you knew, okay, this isn't working, if you could just then relax about it and not become really agitated about, oh, this isn't working out, and then for 20 years you're actually thinking about that it wasn't working out. But if you could just relax knowing that it was in your best interest that stuff isn't happening in your life. And also to just rest in the moment. Rest that this moment is the perfection of the self. You cannot be separate from the divine. It isn't that you as this person are somehow presence isn't there. Presence is always there. And so the present moment is already the self. The only difference between someone who has realized the self and the one who hasn't is that the one realized knows and becomes more reminded and becomes more and more actually a knowing conduit for source, is more and more less of a person and more a reflection of the self itself. So there's the difference, but it doesn't mean that you are not the self at all times, and whatever is happening is not perfectly, divinely orchestrated for you and as you and for this exact moment of time as it should be. And that includes actually all different forms of emotions and stuff that you're having. But what I want to help you understand is really this more relaxation into the present moment. Like really knowing the perfection of it, the perfection of the challenge, the perfection of the greatness of the moment, the perfection of very mundane events happening in your life, the perfection of stuff not happening for you, not working out for you, the perfection of any challenge you have had, the perfection of you and your life in every moment. And the greatest sense of happiness, like where does happiness actually come from? Obviously it comes from the self. Yeah, it comes from not identifying with yourself as a person. But also the happiness of this journey of life is when you can be present in each moment, when you are actually allowing yourself to know this is already really great. Can I rest in that? Can it not be always about the next thing or the next day or what's not yet enough? But I rest here and I can see, wow, this moment is actually precious and it's wonderful, and there are so many wonderful things happening even in very normal days. It's not always about the miracle that is like something so extraordinary, but it is sometimes also just about the miracle of life itself. And that's this overcoming of avidya. It is by realizing the self as to who you truly are.